Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Holly, I'm a freelance illustrator, and today I'm going to be talking about the many reasons why I would love nothing more than to quit Instagram, the app, forever, and why I also don't think it's a great place for artists and for me personally. My first reason for leaving Instagram as someone who uses it as a place to market their illustrations and their art business is because the demands on users keeps increasing. It just seems like the demands are becoming ridiculous now on that app. It used to be, back in the old days, a place where you would upload pictures. You might upload one, you might upload 5. It didn't matter about the time you uploaded them, it didn't matter about the consistency, about your brand. It was just a place where you were sharing images with other people. And now it's become this marketing tool. A lot of people use it for their business, and there are so many rules, and there seems to be so many more things, more hoops that you have to jump through as a small business owner in order to have your posts seen, have your work seen but by fewer people. I see so many smaller users on the app complain or voice their concern about how few people actually see their posts. Not only is it a never-ending feed of images, Instagram is also a place where you now need to upload reels, which are short video clips that seem to be doing really well in the algorithm, and so everyone is jumping on that and getting involved with that, which is a very time-consuming thing to do. As someone who runs a small business and is a sole trader, you don't have anyone else helping you. That is such a big ask to expect people to then be engaging on the app, but also making short, engaging, exciting videos. Not only are there those two things you have to do, you also have to use the story aspect of Instagram. You might use your profile feed as somewhere to portray your best work, and then you might use stories to kind of show a bit of behind the scenes, for example. And that is a lot of work. And then you've also got your direct message inbox. You've also got the engagement happening under your images in the comments section. It's a lot to be keeping up with, and I'm just not sure it's worth it anymore for someone who is quite tight on time anyway, as every small business owner will be. It's just a lot of hoops to jump through, and I'm kind of over it. I've seen so many artists say that they wish they didn't have to do these hoop jumps. They might say, I swore I'd never do this, but here I am talking to the camera. I swore I'd never do this, but here I am making reels. It just feels very forced, and I feel sad for the artists that feel forced into doing things that don't come naturally to them. And it's definitely not the artist's fault. There aren't actually that many choices to get your work out there online anymore, because the social media giants have monopolized the market and everyone is flocking to these very few sites. The second reason I don't like using Instagram as an artist is because Instagram is set up to encourage you to spend longer on the site and to consume content en masse. It's basically a never-ending feed, so you really can never reach the bottom of that feed. You can view content from the moment you wake up to the moment you get to sleep, and you will never see all of it. I think that subconsciously encourages people to speed up their viewing to get through as much of it as possible. You're flicking up and up and up. It's just very easy motions to make, very quickly sweeping through all the content you see, and I just feel like that completely degrades the artwork that people have spent hours, days, months working on, only for it to be flicked away in a moment's notice. I think it changes how people consume art and appreciate art, and I think it also changes the type of art that's being made, because there's such a short attention span on the app. And people want their work to be seen and shared, so they're making the kind of art that is very easily understood, sharing what's popular, what appeals to people at that particular time, rather than creating art that means something to them. Because there's this encouragement to jump from one post to the next post, this mass consumption on the app, people aren't viewing art the way it deserves to be viewed, with time and consideration, and subsequently artists don't feel like they can dedicate the time to creating art that does demand a bit longer, a bit more of your attention and a bit more of your attention span. It's encouraged to make art that can be very easily consumed and shared. And that makes me sad, because there are artists out there who make work that is very meaningful and very skilled, but it's not getting the engagement, and that's not through any fault of their own, that's because of the way the app is set up, but they might perceive it as them being unsuccessful. I just think it's really important to remind ourselves that not all art translates well in the very narrow setting of Instagram, and it doesn't mean that it's bad art if it's not being picked up by the algorithm. And I also think the reverse is true. Artwork that is really successful on the app might not necessarily be the best art out there. Of course, our appreciation of art is all subjective. Having stepped away from Instagram lately, it's helped me see with more clarity, and I wonder whether if other artists were to do that, would they carry on making the same kind of art that has been so successful for them on Instagram, or would they go in a new direction? If you take away the demands of the Instagram algorithm, what kind of art would you make? I think that can be a really good question to ask yourself and allow yourself time for as well. So I'm an artist on social media, and I'm probably not going to stop being one anytime soon. After all, I'm talking to you on a social media platform right now. I use YouTube, I have a Twitter account, I have tried blogging, I have a Patreon account. So I don't necessarily think that all social media is bad for artists. I just think it's very important to be mindful about the type of apps that you choose to put your work on or spend a lot of your time on. And something I think about is making sure that your time is put to good use, not just in the short term, immediate posting of illustration or art, but in the long term. How can people find you in the long term? And another reason why I don't really like Instagram is because posts are very temporary. They exist on the app forever, but the possibilities for people to find you via your posts is quite low unless you keep putting more and more content out there, because the feed is never ending. New content pushes older content down very, very quickly, so you have to be constantly keeping up with that speed and producing more and more work if you want your work to be found. Whereas my YouTube content exists for years and it's very searchable, and I have people finding my YouTube videos from many years ago and then subscribing to my channel from that really old content, which doesn't really happen on Instagram. They'll find you through your brand new, most up-to-date content, and it has to be something that's cut through the algorithm. And that's true of blog posts. For example, they have a lot more longevity because you can add search words, because they're much more easy to find in Google search results. Therefore, I think it's a much better use of my time to be making content that exists for many years, rather than making content that exists for maybe half a day, if that, on Instagram before it's pushed down by new content. The few times that I've talked about leaving Instagram before, I've had a few people say the reasons why they really like it, and I definitely have some reasons why I found it hard to leave Instagram in the past. And one of the main reasons, I think, is the sense of community. I like following certain artists and seeing the work that they're producing. I like having these little conversations with certain people online through Instagram. I like very occasionally being able to find new artists that are really amazing. But to me, the positives don't outweigh the negatives, because as well as having that community, it's also a huge time suck. I find Instagram so addictive because it's been designed to be addictive, so that's not really any surprise. But I can go on there specifically to look at a certain artist's work, or to find something very specific on the app that maybe I've saved to come back to for later. And then before I know it, I've spent 40 minutes looking through everyone's stories. I feel a lot of guilt about that, and I just don't think it's a very good use of my time. I do spend a lot of time online in general, but for some reason on Instagram, I'm not really sure where that time goes. Whereas when I spend time on YouTube, for example, I know that I've checked in with my favourite creators, I've watched a couple of vlogs, I feel relaxed, I feel like I've learnt a little bit about something, I've found some new books that I want to read and put them on my TBR. I've shared part of my day with someone who's made a studio vlog, for example. on Instagram, because there is this mass consumption of content, it's so overwhelming and I don't really know what I've seen. And that really worries me. That makes me feel out of control. And I want to be in control of my time. That is the most important thing about being alive, surely, is time. And Instagram takes so much of it away from me and I'm not really sure where that time has gone. And the community aspect of it, I think it just involves me being a little bit more proactive to keep in touch with my favourite artists on the site, finding out whether people have other outlets, whether they have YouTube channels, whether they have Etsy shops that I can favourite so I can keep supporting their business, whether they have newsletters that I can sign up for. I just feel like there must be a way to recreate that community aspect of Instagram without all the negativity that comes with it. So I think I might actually make another video where I talk more about Instagram and how it's affected me personally and politically, and in terms of my desire to be involved in climate activism. But I think I might make that into another video because I think there's enough of a conversation happening here. I guess I want to touch on a few last things. One of them would be how Instagram content makes me feel and comparing that to how other content that I consume across the internet makes me feel. And I want to talk about this because I hope that it encourages you to think about how certain apps make you feel and how they affect your mental health. For example, when I am on YouTube has always been this special place for me. I just love that people would go to the effort to create videos that let us have a glimpse of their day, of their creative practice, things that have been inspiring them, of the things that they've been struggling with. I just find YouTube content much more valuable and much more insightful than an Instagram post or story ever could. And also I think it's the length of time that you spend with someone. It all comes down to time, really. On YouTube, you might spend 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes with someone and they have a chance to express their ideas more fully. They have a chance to show you their art processes in a more interesting and engaging way. You understand more about them as a person and the kind of lives that they lead, the kind of opinions they have and values they have. And that's harder to get on Instagram because of this mass consumption idea. You are encouraged to follow more people, and so those people are diluted across the whole vast app. You spend less time with those people. So I just really value YouTube content because it is a chance for me as well to spend time with my audience and talk about things a long-winded way and encourage you to slow down and hopefully feel less frantic than you do on Instagram, because there is this timer under the video where the video goes on for so many minutes. It's a time for you to have a cup of tea, maybe work in your sketchbook. I love when people show me pictures of them working on pieces of art whilst they listen to my videos. That is what these kind of videos are intended for. I think it's just a lovely way of us sharing a space together on the internet, and it's not frantic. It's not mass consumption, it's not triggering negative emotions, which is what the more fast-paced social media apps do, like Instagram and Twitter. They need you to react quickly to the content. They need you to move on and carry on engaging and spending a long time consuming content en masse. And the way to do that is by getting you to react quickly to your negative emotions. There's been like some studies that show that negative emotions create faster reactions. For example, outrage, anger, fear, they have quicker reactions to them than positivity. I just think some of the faster apps are creating this feedback loop of negativity, and it's definitely affecting my mental health. When I sign out of the app, how I feel is really concerning. A lot of the time I will feel frantic. I'll also feel guilty because I've wasted time. I'll definitely feel overstimulated. I might also feel more negatively towards my work and my life because I've just viewed so many different people's work and so many different people's lives. People say this all the time, but you're obviously only viewing the highlight reel of people's lives and people's careers. So there's always this constant comparison between other artists and illustrators that I don't really feel on other social media apps so much. I don't really feel it on YouTube. I think because there is this greater understanding of the effort they've put in to their work and to their successes in their career, because you've seen more of the behind the scenes, and also you're not bombarded with so many different opinions and successes. It's just a slower pace. I think that's what it comes down to. I think that's what affects my mental health the most, is the frantic speed of which you're expected to consume content, and the addictive qualities that just seem so much more prevalent on Instagram than any other app that I can compare it to. And I want to be free from that, and I want to have better mental health. I definitely have more of an anxious brain anyway, so I don't know why I'm encouraging that side of my brain by engaging in apps that are designed to make me feel anxious. I think that's everything that I want to say today. Going forward, my transition off of Instagram, I'm not quite sure how that's going to look at the moment. I do know the things that I want to continue with, which is going to be YouTube. I'm really looking forward to having more time to give to YouTube because I'm not giving it to Instagram, and Patreon as well. I've already talked to my patrons about this, but I'm going to be moving over some of the content that I put on Instagram to my Patreon feed. I don't think we should be normalizing unpaid content, which is what Instagram encourages. It encourages so much unpaid labor. And if you get value from someone's work, from someone's content, and you have the means to pay for it, I think that should be encouraged. Doing things like blogging over on Patreon, and vlogging, of course. I've always vlogged over there. If you want extra content, you can find it on Patreon. Sharing illustrators and artists that I am inspired by, sharing behind the scenes of my process as a painter, and also sharing parts of my personal life. And I've already started doing that over on Patreon, and I'm really enjoying it. So if you want to sign up, the lowest tier is the $3 tier, and that's where you'll have access to all of the previously Instagram related content that will now be going up on Patreon. Not as frequently, because I would like to have more time to dedicate to my art making, but you'll see a lot more of the behind the scenes over there, and you'll also get a monthly newsletter where I share books I'm reading, films I've watched, YouTube videos and creators that are really inspiring me, what's on my easel, so paintings that I've worked on in the month and behind the scenes on those paintings, and just kind of like general thoughts as well. I love writing my monthly newsletter on Patreon, so I hope you join me over there if you want to see more. And yeah, I'm going to be continuing on here making content, so please stay subscribed over here and engage with my content so that you get to see it in your feeds. And also, when I reopen my Etsy shop, I will also have a newsletter where you'll be the first to know about new releases on my Etsy shop, because previously I would have shared it on Instagram, and that's where you would have had the first knowledge about new products and prints and things. But I'm going to be making a newsletter so you can be the first to know about new products that I've made over there, but that's coming later in the year. So that's all I'm going to talk about. I'm also going to leave in the description some videos that I've watched from artists, illustrators, activists who have left Instagram, and why. I just think it's important to listen to a lot of people's perspectives, because my perspective isn't the whole perspective. There are multiple different reasons why you might want to leave, and I'd love to hear what your reasons are. If you also would like to transition away from Instagram, or if you're also having a hard time on the app, I'd love to know your reasons why. I'd also like to hear if you really love the app. That would be interesting to hear about too, so let's have a discussion about this in the comments. And thanks for watching this far, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.